Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of our little Euro magazine. As always, I brought you the best, the biggest, the smartest person in women's football, Sophie Lawson. We're very lucky to have you, Sophie. You're doing some work around the Euros, but this time you're staying in Britain, right?
That's right, yeah. Tournament from home because no offense, Switzerland is too expensive for me.
For all of us. How do you look at it? I mean, there's so much talk. I'm really getting sick of it. You must be getting sicker much more than I am, but always about the money. There's no money in women's soccer. Then, well, there is some. I always find there is money, but I think it's mostly just badly allocated. It never arrives to people like you and me, right? So it goes, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but I look at the people all around those VIP seats and stadium and yeah, I have a little tumble in my belly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, and I've seen it. I've seen it in England. Last few tournaments, I think going well back actually. What you get a lot of coverage of England these days, which is quite nice, and you do have a lot of dedicated journalists. But I have seen at tournaments people who don't cover women's football, who are big football writers for their own outlets. I'm not going to name names, but they don't cover women's football. They show up, they're the big names, they get allowed to show up, and the people who cover the sport week in, week out for those outlets get pushed down. And I hate seeing stuff like that. I know big tournaments, but I don't know. I just wish like, and I know as well, so many people who cover the sport so diligently like don't get accredited to big tournaments, which is a shame because they don't have a big outlet behind them or whatever. And then yeah, it's all part and parcel and getting outlets to say, yeah, we're going to put money into women's football for coverage, get the right people. The money doesn't always end up where it should, just as we see it when it comes to teams and on the pitch.
It just breaks my heart. I mean, I understand. They have people on salary and they need to use them, right? But sometimes I think they should just reach across the aisle and talk to us, get us involved, people like you and me who've been doing this for a while, also for their credibility, I think. And the other thing is just you just see money getting wasted in things. I mean, here in Switzerland, we got a lot of public funding. Okay, they think it's not a lot, but those 15 millions is money, and you see the people they then put on payroll to go speak publicly and so on, who are so far from the sport. I mean, politicians and so on, activists. I think that also smears the job a little bit. It blurs it. It's not smearing is the wrong word. Did you guys experience that as well 3 years ago in England?
Good question. I think sometimes over here at least, you try and publicize the game. You try and think we need to get more people interested. So we're going to use people maybe completely separate from the sport who other people will know. But it sometimes it lands, sometimes it's a bit weird. And you're thinking, well, why are you getting that person? Yeah, sometimes you see it.
I think that's just a missed opportunity there. Also here in Switzerland. And then the third question, I know it's a difficult one. I don't want to go into the whole Annie Anuku, Ian Wright thing because she just really chose the wrong target. I mean, Ian it might be the worst person to try to scrutinize all around that. But me being a man, I know I'm a man. I know I should shut up sometimes, but I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've been doing it out of the goodness of my heart, showing games out of my own pockets, money. And I just think this women's only strategy that's been run at the moment here in Switzerland, it's going a little too far. Did you guys experience similar things as well?
I see similar things talked about. I think the problem of saying we women have so for so long been kind of kept out of media spaces, so they've got to do women's football. It's only right if we have women doing women's football. That then kind of closes the avenue for women to get into men's football if they have to be in women's, right? And I know plenty of men who love covering women's football, would never even want to cover men's football and who know the job, who do it very respectfully. And I just think yes, it's important to have more women and just more diversity across the board when it comes to the media landscape, because at the very least in England, it's a very white place to be. Go to press boxes at games. I can think of off the top of my head, one black journalist. A lot of white faces. We need more diversity that way as well. But we need to say, look, if you're a man, you can cover women's football. If you're a woman, you can cover men's. If you only want to cover women's, that's absolutely fine. You know, it's just about making sure the opportunities are there, and any sometimes her heart's in the right place, sometimes her foot is in her mouth. And yeah, Ian Wright is such a massive advocate and ally when it comes to women's sport. He's the wrong person to say, oh, an Ian Wright, but hopefully they've cleared things up behind the scenes. But it's not the first time Aluko has put her foot in her mouth and, you know, raised eyebrows and possibly lost friends. So
Yeah, I
that's that.
mean, again, there are grifters. We all know about that. Ian hasn't had like a paid job in women's punditing for like 5 years, so he was really not the right person. They actually made a joke about it with Jill Scott. If you know, in the overlap, they did
Mm.
a nice joke about it. But yeah, it's a thing. I mean, again, don't try to alienate the people who actually are on your side.
Yeah.
That's also the thing I keep saying to this sport now. Now the big brands are here because it's a big tournament. But those brands, they will just squander off in the next 2 to 3 years if the league doesn't get an improvement. And in the meantime, you might have actually alienated the people who were on your side all along.
Yeah, it's a problem. I think what football likes to do is look at the short-term gain, um, and possibly that hurts in the long run. You know, that's the sport all around the world as well.
Well, that's us diving into politics of the game. Now let's go into the sports. We've seen one full game day.
We
Uh,
have.
any surprises out there? Anything that you would like to underline?
Finland. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting anything from Finland, and I thought they've played two really good games. A little bit like Switzerland, unlucky in their first game to end up with nothing against Norway. I guess underlining Norway being dreadful and winning two games. I'm not sure. It's so easy to forget as soon as the next games roll around. But I think Finland being as good as they've been has been a real surprise, but a happy surprise. Yeah, I think that's probably. I think I wasn't sure how Poland would do. I saw them in their playoff. They looked really good in their playoff, and I thought they played really intelligently against Germany. And then it was just they couldn't keep it up, and they got undone by an absolute stunner from Uleland. But yeah.
I think so too. I mean, the biggest screamer here in Switzerland has been so far yesterday's game, I think, except apart from the Swiss games. I mean, it's been that France win over England.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Switzerland, everyone was saying, "Well, the French, they never win anything." I mean, come on, they're not even a dark horse. You know, they will not get it done, and they actually came to play.
Yeah, they had a really good game. I thought England started so well, and then they stopped trying basically, which just allowed France to get into the game, and we could see France's strength is all in the attack and the midfield. They're not the only nation who are very top heavy like that, but they seemed really confident. And although France, if you look at some of their tournament history, they usually start with a win. They usually do really well in the group stage, and then it falls apart in the knockouts. We'll have to see what happens. But they were looking confident. We had Laura Georges doing a sort of halftime analysis over here, and she obviously knows the team so well. She was a big part of it for a long time. She was talking about how confident the entire team looked and how they don't always look that confident, and she's very hopeful about this team.
I mean, we're also looking at characters, right? And there are some characters that might actually have been some. I don't want to call them toxic because they're important with their determination and the way they approach things. those aren't there now that might actually pull the team down. Do you think that might be actually a blessing for France?
I think for as long as I've been around, France have always had something happening off the pitch. And I think, and then as soon as France lose, it's really easy to say, "Oh, there must be drama," because there's always drama. But there has frequently been problems off the pitch for France over the years. That does play a part. They haven't always had the right coach. They haven't always had the right approach or had the right players. And there's so many different kind of nuances to why France haven't ever won a major tournament. But they look happy. They look comfortable. Which then suggests that everything is going well and there's not anything bad happening off the pitch for them. But we'll have to see how they progress.
Speaking of equality, same thing happens to the France men's team every tournament as
Yeah.
well. But let's
They've
stay
looked,
with characters missing. You wrote a very nice piece, I don't remember for which outlet, about England missing. I always want to say Winona Earps, but it's Mary Earps.
is it
Um, it's that show,
the
Winona Earps.
gunslinger? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mary Earps, she's missing, and a few other characters. Frank Kirby, of course, which I think is actually a disgrace. And looking at the game yesterday, I think there would still be some space for Kirby, but I'm not Sarina Wichmann. How do you reckon England has dealt with that, and does that critique now come up again since they lost this game?
I think Fran Kirby can give you magic. But I also think Fran Kirby has been so injured and so ill and had so many problems over her entire senior career. I completely understand her. She wanted to she was if she th she thought if she made this squad she was going to retire immediately after the Euros. There wasn't the room for her in it. I understand not taking her because you never know quite what you're going to get from Fran just in case she's not 100%, which is a shame because we know she has had those moments of magic. But I think that would have been in sort of Serena's mind that they weren't taking Fran. I think we've seen Hannah Hampton has gotten the number one shirt. That was always again in Serena's plan. I think the problem is one, you don't have a backup with experience because you've only got Anna Morehouse and Kiara Keating, zero caps between them. Um, and you lose Mary Earps from the dressing room. She can be a big personality. Sometimes you need that. But I think when we were talking about the players missing, and everyone was saying, "Oh my God, this is really going to affect England," it was Millie Bright. Millie Bright makes that defense better. She might not be the best centre back in the world, but we've seen it for England. We've seen it for Chelsea. When she's in that team, the defense looks a lot more solid. And again, she's worn the captain's armband. She's a big personality. I think they miss her. And again, England's defence, it's not the worst defence of the tournament, but it can be gotten at. I thought they were a bit too static against France. But I think my biggest issue with Wiegman, it's not about, say, those three players. I think we saw it a lot more with the Netherlands than we've seen it with England. She doesn't evolve her squads. And she moved Russo and Toon up to be starters after the Euros because she had retirements, she had injuries, but she didn't do that because she wanted to. She did it because she
Mhm.
had to. And then she gets used to that. And it's just about trying to. I think she kind of struggles maybe with a plan B sometimes. We saw Grace Clinton come on, really help the press. And Michelle Adjiman came on really late. And I was like, bring them on earlier. Just have more trust in your bench, have more trust in the entire squad you've got. I think the thing for England yesterday.
I think looking at Wichmann doing that, and I think also you guys lacked a little dynamic. I
Yeah.
think I heard a pundit say that James, when she actually
Yeah.
went off, was in a stage of a game where she could actually have helped the team with her
Mm.
dynamic, but of course she was strung out. She had done a lot of running, and yeah, again, Russo runs a lot, but in the end, we have someone who looks exactly like her, not in the reason, and she has similar issues, but we'll get to that later. But with Wichmann looking at her like that, reminds me of Pia Sundhage, reminds me of Martina Voss-Tecklenburg, and a couple other senior female coaches that they seem to have trust issues with their teams.
Mm.
I
So
don't want to be mean, but I think there's a thing. You have your 11, you have maybe your 13, but from then on, you don't have really trust in the young ones, and that's why you don't even bring them on, or you bring them on very late.
yeah, so someone asked me yesterday if it was the first or the second game that the Dutch have had Medema, Roord, Pelova, and Van der Donk all on the pitch together. And I said it's only the second time they've ever started together. And I think you've got to remember Pelova just did her ACL before her Roord had done her ACL, before her Viv, before her Dan had hurt her ankle. But if you go back a little bit further, to when Joe Roord was breaking through, was getting called up to the Dutch team. She could not get a look in because Serena had her favourite starting 11. She had that midfield of Jackie Groenen, of Danielle van der Donk, and of Lieke Martens. And even though, say, Lieke was playing, I think it was the 2019 World Cup. I think she had her foot was she had a problem with her foot, but she just kept starting, even though she was injured and she wasn't playing well. Serena had her favourite 11. I think that's something we see it's evolved a bit. We still see it with England, and certainly as you mentioned, like of Tecklenburg, when they've got the players they like, those are the players they trust, and it's just maybe the question. And I'm not a coach. But the question is, how do you kind of have? How do you not just manage, but how do you have the trust in the players? How do the players then feel when they know they're on the bench and they're not getting brought on? What's the conversation there? How do they feel themselves? Because we've seen it in the US, if you go back a few years with Jill Ellis, so this is a little bit on a tangent, but for so long, people loved Kristen Press. I mean, she still is, but she's had her injury issues. A fantastic centre forward, just one of the most natural goal scorers you'll see. She was always kind of included in Jill Ellis squads, but never really played much. And then it kind of got to it with a couple of US games where she just threw Kristen Press on late, and you could see that Press, although she has confidence in herself, she didn't then have the kind of confidence of the manager as she came on, and she just wasn't. It's like how that affects players. It's a very delicate relationship with that trust. But throwing a player on, throwing them at the deep end, almost throwing them under the bus when you haven't given them enough time. So hopefully we'll see Serena kind of react quicker and not wait so long. But they were so flat against France. They started well, they ended well, but the sort of 75 minutes in the middle was, I mean, the warning signs have been there for a long time with England, but maybe they'll sit up and take notes now.
There's a problem in this stage of women's football is you have warning signs, but since you only have like five adequate adversaries, it doesn't
Yeah,
get called out, right? Even in the Nations League, we're still at League A, we're still looking at six good teams, and the rest is actually not on par. And unfortunately, Switzerland is one of them. But yeah, a lot of people have their money on England. You think they should cash out now?
I don't think they should put it on in the first place. Yeah,
Oh,
I've been saying England on. I mean, since the end of the Euros, I said, like you get a big boost when you're the home team, when you're host nation, and I think England had a big boost as the home nation. I thought they also had a very big boost playing Spain when Spain had a manager who actively made the team worse. But that is a conversation for another day. I wouldn't have put my money on England, but I will be very interested to see how they react and what they do against the Netherlands.
some would say Monse to me still does
Uh,
the team a little worse. I mean, she's not out of controversy.
no, no.
But yeah, let's move on. So you think there's an open spot also for France in that group, Group D.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Group B, which is the one we need to look closer. Spain demolished Portugal. There's no other way of saying it. But looking at the way he lined up, I think he was a little bit expecting it. That's also my biggest issue with Francisco Neto, Portuguese coach. I think he's very, very pragmatic and Oh, frankly, Portugal needs new input. He's been in a job for way too long and for way too many stages. But that's a totally different discussion. Then we'll have to open the discussion that he might be changing his goalkeeper for the next game, as he always does. He's rotating the two goalkeepers. I think that's a little bit of a weakness, even though you might say, yeah, he started as a goalkeeper coach. He's an expert, but I don't think that's just the best way to do it, but those are all different things. Spain demolished Portugal correctly. Portugal was a little shook because of the whole Diogo Jota thing, but doesn't have to, can't be an excuse. And Italy narrowly defeated Belgium. What are we looking at in Group B, and who would be the adversaries for Switzerland?
It depends. It depends where they finish. I think Portugal. We've seen them in the Nations League against Spain already. I think we kind of knew that was going to happen. They haven't looked right since they lost 7-1 in I think it was Vigo to Spain. Um it was always going to be a really tough tournament for them. Disappointed they didn't attack better, frankly. Uh Belgium, I think I mean we sort of mentioned Francisco Neto's been in the job for a long time and might need a change. I think likewise, Belgium they brought in Beta Konostatir after Yves Senders had been there for so long, and she has helped that team. They have freshened up, but they do lack talent or depth of talent, we should say. So again, I was kind of expecting the Italy win, but I was also expecting Italy to play better. Um, I think Italy have been really quite balanced since André came in, but they weren't really they didn't look like they had much fight in them against Belgium, I think. But I'm expecting Italy to kind of to grow through the tournament because if you think about what happened 3 years ago, they got absolutely demolished by France, and they just looked bad every single game. So I think that they just needed to get 3 points under their belt. They just needed a win. They just needed it to, even if it was dreadful football, they needed to be safe. And that they got that, and it was the big game for them. Now I think hopefully they can kick on, they can start to play better against Portugal and then secure their spot. And they can be a dangerous team. They've had good results against Spain, against Germany in the last couple of years. So I would look out for Italy. But if they continue to play badly, well, maybe not.
Do you think so? Tomorrow, you think Portugal could actually get a point or maybe three out of that game?
I think they can get a goal. Um,
That would be
I
nice. I mean, we have such a talented goal scorer, maybe the most natural goal scorer in women's football history. I would call her because she was so young and so good. And the dude just never plays her, just never plays a system that is good for her. You know, I'm talking about Telma, of course. I mean, I love Jessica Silva and everything she did for the team. I think Diana is a good person, good player, but Jesus Christ, they're just not made for that stupid false nine double striker position that just did the men no good and will never do the this women's team any good, I think.
yeah, think I don't think he's going to go too far outside the box. That's the problem. And so you're going to rely on a ball over the top. You're going to ask Jessica Silva and Deanna that you're going to ask them to run and try and find a bit of magic.
You know, in Switzerland, I usually say coaches who do that are the ones who don't understand football. I always try to, sorry
Well,
about
he's a
that.
goalkeeper coach, so
I know, but he's Portuguese, so he should actually understand a little bit. But you know, I always quote Tiziano Ferro's song "Chi non ha talento insegna."
mm,
Those who can't, they teach. And in football, sometimes they become coaches, and it's really annoying to me because I look at this team. I mean, okay, I understand Kika has had a few knocks, Nazare before the end of the season, so don't use her against Spain. You know you're gonna lose. You're 3-0 down and halftime. Don't put them in. But now I would really try against Italy because if you don't win this game, you're gone, right?
yeah, pretty much. I it depends what Kika's fitness is as well. Like I know she was so upset to have missed the Champions League final in Lisbon, and she's been trying to race to get back. We'll have to see. She might just, kind of come on second half, or it might be that everything gets put on the Belgium game, like looking for the best chance of picking up 3 points. But yeah, I don't know. Portugal are a strange team.
Very strange team. My heart breaks a little bit with that. That's why I had a big laugh when Kim Kulik said Portugal is a dark horse in this race, and I was like, "Oh, Miss Kulik, I think for once you're really off."
Yeah,
uh, the Red Flames against La Furia Roja. Is there anything Misipo can do to stop that midfield?
no,
So,
no.
people in Bern tomorrow or in Thun, I don't remember. I think it's in Thun. They will see Spain getting their second 3 points.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not even a
It's,
question for you, huh?
I mean, they brush teams aside, Spain. They had a weird game against Belgium in the Nations League. They had to come from 2 goals down, and they scored 2 goals in stoppage time to win 3-2. But no, I think they also took the foot off the foot off the gas in the second half against Portugal, which is probably good. Otherwise, it would have gotten really, really nasty. So they're going to be kind of fresh as well, whereas Belgium had to chase Italy all the way through the game. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be Spain, and again, they're just kind of going through the motions at the minute, and they're just they're too good. That's the problem with Spain. They've got
That's
too
true.
many good players.
They're just too good and dynamic as well. Because if you could say, oh, okay, they're just really good technically, but they lack some fitness. But then you put in Vicky, you put in Paraguay, and then it just looks different again. Um, if we're looking at that group, so we're talking about Spain topping it and Italy or Belgium. Who do you reckon?
Italy.
So you reckon Italy?
Yeah.
I hope for Portugal, but I guess you might be right. We'll see tomorrow. We'll know more.
I mean,
And then,
I'd say
yeah,
Portugal have gotten their worst game out the way. Everyone else
uh,
still has to play Spain, so
that's true. And then we get to the group I care most about. He care most about Switzerland with an important win today, which wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't clear. They got a little lucky, but they reacted well when they changed the system up, and they reacted well to a mistake. Also, you have to say. And now they look poised. What do you say? Do you think Finland still has a little more momentum than Switzerland? Or
I
who
think
do you?
it's tough because I think Finland, I think we've seen them play really well as a team in 2 games. I thought they were smart in their first game. They really shut down E002. They just kind of snuffed out the danger there. They found their moments when they went forward. Again, they dominated so much of the game against Norway earlier. Again, playing intelligently, I thought their passing game was really, really good.
Very
Likewise,
strong.
they could have had more than one goal as well. That they came pretty close. I think they've played intelligently, and because they don't have a big star, I think it allows the whole team to kind of play well, if that makes sense. Whereas Switzerland might look a little bit more to the players that they know are the best on the pitch and ask a bit from them. But Pilgrim's goal has tipped the sort of scales when it comes to all the head-to-head. So now you only need a draw. And I mean, I haven't been at the Switzerland games, but it sounded like the crowd was pretty loud there. And you've got the bump of being the host team. And we saw that definitely first half against Norway, that the team had so much adrenaline and energy and played such a good 45 minutes.
I think so too. I mean, the worst thing about this group is that Norway's practically
Yeah,
through, and I
yeah,
mean they've
totally.
been horrendous. They've been horrendous for weeks, for years. You said it as well in the last episode, but God damn it, I've never seen such. I mean, I there's a saying in German, a horse only jumps as high as it has to. And I said, but you can't speak of a horse here. So I said a hobby horse only jumps as high as it can. You know what a hobby horse is, right? It's one
Yeah.
of those girls with those makeshift horse brooms. And I want, God damn it, Norway annoyed the heck out of me today. Even though they started well, I think they
Yeah.
did a good first half, but then again, just completely stopped playing. How does that work?
I, they look so broken. They've had an own goal in each half. They I mean I think Switzerland did so well, especially first half against Norway, but they did not try to mark Ada when she scored her header. They let her have a free. Like you can't. Like the one player you cannot let have a crashing header is
You
Ada
know what's
Hegerberg.
worst about that goal? That all the media now was giving Peng the fault for that, was blaming her. And I was like, yeah, but there's one player in the world who's won two Ballon d'Ors, and you let her run through the whole box. So please leave the goalkeeper alone. I mean, of course, she could have had that ball, but the others are all at fault here as well.
Um, it just it feels like two robberies from Norway. I also seeing how well Switzerland and Finland have played, it just upsets me that one of them isn't going through and that Norway with their dreadful football are. And I think the problem with Norway, it's not just that they've been so underwhelming for so long and under different coaches. And you can see for so long that something hasn't been right with the team, something hasn't been right off the pitch, it hasn't been right between their ears. But you look at the players they have, you look at other Hegerberg, Carolina Graham Hansen, Goro Reiten, Ingrid Ingen. They have so many individual talents in different positions, and they all get worse when they play for Norway. And it's maddening because you want one of them to step up. And we so the own goal, not the own goal, the miss hit cross from Graham Hansen earlier. She ran at the defense. She did what she usually does, and she played that 1 minute. She played well after such an underwhelming game. And so you've got the ability, but they just seem to completely this tournament at least they're just turning off when they don't have the ball. They don't look interested. It's really strange this one.
Well, I had seen that already in the Nations League campaign, so that's why I was not surprised, but I'm still disappointed. Now this leaves us, but with this constellation of 6 points, 3 and 3, leaves us with them not being able to flunk out, even if they wanted to, right? So they're done.
Yeah,
They're through.
they're top, but they're they're going to be an easy game. They were up against the runner-up of Group B, so that should be ice.
Italy,
It's Italy. Italy. Hopefully, if they can pick up momentum as well, they will just brush them aside.
that would be
Um,
cool.
and we'll be rid of them for another couple of
Even
years.
though I
But
have to say the fans were really good. They
yeah.
were really cool in Basel and around Basel, and I heard today in Thun as well. So it's not fans' fault. It's really just a team that's playing horrendously.
It's like I like the players individually. I like Norway. I've seen them crash out of multiple tournaments. I'm usually there when they lose. I was there when they lost to Denmark 8 years ago. I was there. Oh God, I was there in Brighton twice 3 years ago. I've seen them lose to New Zealand in Auckland. I've been all around the world watching them lose. And I like the players, and I wish that they could sort out their problems, but their problems run so deep, as we've seen over and over again, that the football is dysfunctional, and it's so frustrating that the team playing that badly are topping the group. Yeah, and it's not personal. I just it's just frustrating because I think I've got such a soft spot for Finland after those two games.
And that's the thing. Now my heart
You
is
know,
breaking because I loved Finland the way they played, but we want Switzerland to get through. Um, Looking at those games, though, the way Finland has used the dynamics, the passing play, as you said, but also the width of the pitch,
yeah,
I see a lot of trouble for Switzerland. What do you see?
I think think we talked about how badly Switzerland had been playing before the tournament. And then they went out and they had that first 45 minutes against Norway, and it looked like they were a completely different team. I think you could sort of see them struggling against Iceland, and then you had sort of a slight tweak, a change of formation, and it just seemed to sort of settle down for them. And credit to Pia Sundhage. I thought her substitutions earlier on in the in the what am I trying to say, in the Iceland game were spot on. Really liked what those players brought. So I think it's gonna be tough for Switzerland, but I think you have enough kind of individual quality, especially with your teenagers. And we know that young players are fearless. They go out and they have fun. And I think that's what could be enough there. But as we said, you only need a draw.
Yeah,
So
they only need the draw, but Switzerland's never been good of playing to a draw, playing to a minimal result. I think I agree with most things you said, just with one thing not. I would have never taken firmly out of the game. She seems to be really on a streak. She was the most active, and with all the love we have for Sydney Schertenleib, she's been not really good both games, I think. I
she
mean,
got the
I
assist though.
understand it's
But
just not her position as a false nine. Just because she's tall doesn't mean she's a striker. And yeah,
um on the commentary for the game we had in England, um one of the pundits said, she Piers brought on firmly and brought on Sydney. They're both tall, so they must both be physical. And I'm thinking, you got Reutler has to come up against Bundesliga defenders week in, week out. Like she's shorter, but she's strong. And, like it's not necessarily.
yeah, I hate
Um,
that.
but I don't know. As we've said as well, that Pia doesn't always play players in their position. I think we saw that with Benny, that she's playing fullback, but having she had a fantastic game and she's
She
she's
had a
done so
fantastic
well.
game. Yeah, Bunny had a great game. She had to come back to fullback though in that 4-3-3, and that's the discussion we're now having here in Switzerland about switching permanently to the 4-3-3. And I'm like, I don't know about that. If Bunny then is as a fullback, because I think in a 4-3-3, her inexperience in that position might cost you even more.
Yeah, yeah, I think you might be right. I thought she did a good job marking Jónsdóttir. Well, I mean, a good enough job marking Jónsdóttir. But yeah, I think the problem as well, when you see any player who's naturally an attacker, when they actually get to go forward and they start asking questions of the goalkeeper, you're thinking, well, why are you playing in the defense at all? Um,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. But I also I don't often make notes during games these days. But uh, what was the 19-year-old I think came on, plays for Leon.
Vandeler,
Yeah,
Leila
I can't
Vandeler.
remember her name.
I
I
was the
thought she looked
only
good.
one who was sure she was gonna make the team because
Mm.
I went to the media day that they set up here. I don't know if you guys do that as well
Yeah.
in other countries, but they set up one media day, which is a sham, honestly, because they invite the biggest outlets in a country who are always getting extra filming days anyway, and they just let them do like 5 or 6 different segments where they ask the players, well, what kind of clothes would you wear? Oh, who would you date? Who's the hotter player? Who has the best style? You know, all those things that's
Yeah.
really annoy the heck out of me because I always want to focus on sport. And then with us smaller outlets, we'd never get to do the videos, even though I think those media days should be for us as well. But and now it's getting even worse with all the influencer marketing, as you know. But yeah, let's brush that aside. But on that day, Switzerland still had their 30 women's squad, and so you got to talk to all of them. They were all nervous because it was their last week until they found out they can stay. And she was the only one who was cool. You
Mm.
notice she was just cool.
Mm.
She could live with it. There was a lot of talk about Pia, as you know, we spoke also about last week, her old school ways, and Pia also said, "Yeah, well, come on, competition is important in professional sports. And she was the one who was used to competition because in Lyon, no one gives her
Yeah.
anything. She needs to fight for everything.
Yeah, I thought I really liked her introduction. I'd love to see sort of more of her, and I think it's a young team anyway, but it's those teenagers who really just looked exciting and fresh, and like they really wanted to do something. And I think she came on, got an assist as well, and like
And she could have gone more if the other ones could actually finish it.
there is that, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's two things I want to talk to you about real quick. Is one thing is looking at Sydney Schertenleib again. I think she's very talented. She's very good, but people sometimes overestimate her importance in that Barcelona team. And
Mm.
those two goals she scored were great, but those aren't striker goals, striker type goals. So just talk to us about how Barcelona plays and how that is not transferable to the Swiss national team.
I mean, I'd say Barcelona have a lot of Barcelona players, and that's really what helps them. Um, I think Sydney's winning a lot of, making a lot of fans this tournament as well, because she does look so relaxed and so exciting, and and yes, she doesn't play the biggest role for Barcelona, but it's nice and easy to say, oh, the Barcelona player, oh, the Leon player. Um, but yeah, I think you have to remember the sort of Barcelona like to play the sort of the way we think about Barcelona with getting on the ground, little passes, and having players like Patrick Guijarro, Aitana Bonmati, Alexia Putellas really pull the strings in midfield. And then it's about what the attack does. But it's all about a lovely little flowing passing game, being relaxed under pressure. I think that's generally sort of the Barca thing, depending on who the coach is. That's what stays kind of constant is just being so at one with the ball. I think a lot of teams struggle to give the actual football the respect it deserves. Like there's a reason that Barcelona love possession, and it's because they love they like if you could pick up a football they love that. That's what they love. Whereas other teams they're just like, oh, I need a goal, I need this, blah blah. They don't care about possession as much. And if you look at the players Switzerland have, if you look at how Pia plays, it's not we must have the ball, we must cherish the ball. So it's a little bit tricky to still say, oh yes, that those skills must all translate over.
That's the thing. So I'm still not sure she'll be always the right fit for this team. Playing at up front, she isn't, but she could if she would drop a little deeper. But that's Pia's decision. The other player I want to talk to you about is I don't know how much you look into Scandinavia, but she's moving now to Wolfsburg. We're speaking of Smila Valotto. I mean, I know she's Sundhage's favorite player because she speaks Swedish. I think Smila had a lot of good sparks and good things throughout her career, but the past few months she's been in a slump. I know Hammarby was doing all right, but and now she's got that move to Wolfsburg, but I just don't see why she stays on the pitch, especially if you see that she's physically just drawn out.
I'm tempted to actually respond in Swedish
Do
to
it.
appease Pia. My Swedish is better. Many dog hon or inte bra. I thought she was pretty unlucky today. She just like her touch wasn't quite right. She was a little bit slow on certain things, and
Sophie,
it's
all those
just
corners in these two games. Come on.
oh God, they were bad corners. Yeah, she didn't have the best game. Yeah, she was frustrating to watch, and I think that the problem as well, as you talked about, when coaches have their favorites and their favorites aren't playing well, if those players then come off or not. And yeah, I don't think it was a good game for her. I think Hammarby have played well, as a team in Damallsvenskan. And it's always easy to kind of like, oh, this player. And Wolfsburg in themselves love to go for young players, do nothing to develop them, loan them out, and then they're gone. I think Jamali is probably a good. accessible example for a Swiss audience because I like Jamali. I thought that was going to be a good move, and then yeah, PSV. But yeah, no, I didn't love Voloto today, and I mean the next game is it's a new day, it's a new game. Maybe she'll have a great game, but if she's not playing well, if she keeps taking bad corners, let someone else take them. Maybe look for the sub. Yeah.
Yeah, so now let's go to the last debating question. You saw how Finland plays, you saw how Switzerland plays. Should they X that back three, back five for Finland, or would you actually keep it? And do you think who has the better momentum? Finland, who are now the
Ooh.
rage in their belly after that game against Norway, or is it Switzerland? Finland are actually staying in Geneva. Switzerland will be traveling 2 hours or hour and a half, but that doesn't really matter. Who do you think has the momentum, and would you change the setup?
Um, oh God, that's a good question.
That's
I
why I'm a
think,
journalist.
oh dear, I think Finland are going to be upset with how that Norway game ended. I thought they should have had 3 points, let alone one, let alone none. But they came into the tournament not even having won a Euros game for quite a few Euros now, for a good few years. As I think that's something that other teams in the group might have also been feeling. They just get a win. So I think they really took a lot of heart from that first game, and they've done so much more this year than they have in previous tournaments. Maybe they've got nothing to lose at the end of the day. And they know they've got to win. They can't even play for a draw. They've got to win. But I think if Switzerland can sort of tap into being that home team and have that momentum behind them, not just the crowd, but I think the players have to kind of feel a certain way as the home team as well. If they can tap into that, then it's about playing a formation that suits them better. And it's not necessarily playing the opposition for Switzerland as much as it is playing the players in the positions where they can hurt the opposition and they can play their best. I think we saw that a little bit with Norway, that you don't play Graham Hansen through the middle. You keep her out wide. Um, I think you've got to play to the players' strengths. Whereas Finland, I think, are the team who will change how they play to fit their opposition. Switzerland need to lean into these are our best players, these are how we get them playing the best.
So you actually agree with Pia then in that case? Well, we'll see. Do you reckon if the possibility opens itself? Because I mean, today the games are at the same time, but of course you are updated live. Should Switzerland aim for the first spot in that group, if possible, with a goal difference, or should they just play it safe and take their chances with Spain?
Um, no one wants to play Spain. But I mean, look, Italy have beaten Spain before as well. Like Italy could top that group. You don't know until it happens. I think you have to play your best football. You're at home. You've got you've got the eyes of the nation or some of the nation on you. You're not going to play another home tournament ever again. All you can do is play your best football, and not try and hold on for a draw or for something better and try and like plan out. Oh, if we get this team, we get that team. You just have to play your best. Um, yeah.
Let's hope so. Last question, because you have that all-knowing brain. Anna Maria Crnogorcevic. I mean, Pia seems not to trust her too much, but looking at her stats in the US, she's actually been doing well the last year and a half, and she's been playing offensively. Do you think now is actually not the right time to force her back into the defense, or how do you look at the comparison with in the US? Because a lot of people actually conflated the past few months Bachmann's situation with Crnogorcevic's situation, which is not similar. Crnogorcevic has been playing and actually scoring some goals of a few here and there, but scoring, and Bachmann has not been playing for over a year.
Um, I mean, you say if it's a bad time to put, excuse me, an idea back into the defense. I think it's always a bad time for her to play in the defense. Um, I've hated it. I said last time as well when Vos Tecklenburg played her as a defender. It just drives me crazy. She's a little bit older now, a little bit slower, but I think she has so much experience and has played in so many different teams, in so many different leagues, in so many different situations that you can play her more offensively and she will help the team.
You
And
know what annoys me is just look at the end of this game, the last 10 minutes. You have Sydney clearly not having a clue what she's doing up there alone in that 4-3-3. And you have Anna Maria with at 34 doing all the runs from the side. Put
yeah,
Anna Maria up front where she knows what she's doing. Get Sydney back into the midfield, or actually get her doing the runs, or and have or take Sydney off. You have two more changes to do. Take Sydney off, put someone in who can actually do those runs, and have a physically strong goal striker up front, right?
yeah. We're talking about having tall players who are strong. I mean, she her hold up play is pretty solid still. Like I think she's a good character behind the scenes. You want her on the pitch. Um, yeah, I just hate seeing her sort of further back where she can't affect things in the attack. And yeah, especially if the game's stretched and you just want to target woman, like, she's a great option further up the pitch.
Yeah, so I do think so too. And again, in the US, she's been playing. She's been doing all right,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though that's a weird league over there, anyways.
She's she's in a weird team as well, but she's no, she's a lot of the fans like her as well. Like she's been endearing herself. Like her teammates seem to love her as well. I know she was so well liked when she was at Barcelona, Bewertet.
At Portland as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll see where it takes Switzerland. I hope they can make it through at least for one game against Spain. But either way, they will need some fight, and we'll see if they can actually take it on.
I mean, I've recently seen Switzerland play Spain in a tournament knockout. I don't want to relive it. Um, yeah,
The problem is we had a follow-up like a month later in the Nations League, and
yeah.
if you go to our YouTube channel, you can hear Leah Valti scolding me in a short when I asked her, "Well, could you have kept the ball for a little longer and try to slow things down?" She was like, "I don't know if you ever played Spain, but it's not that easy." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I never played Spain. Look at me. I wouldn't be allowed." Yeah, so
Yeah, it's not easy keeping the ball against Spain. Um,
not easy at all.
yeah.
Well, we'll see. Do you think we'll have some more surprises until the third and last match day? Now in the
Um,
second one, or will we stay at status quo with the zeros?
I think there's always the chance for surprises. I mean, I was in Rotterdam when Denmark beat Germany in the Euros 8 years ago. And no one thought that was going to happen. And then uh Teresa, I can't remember her surname. Short player scored a header. I mean, just weird things can happen. I think Poland have goals in them. I think loads of teams that haven't scored have goals in them, and loads of teams have really bad defenses. So anything can happen.
We'll see. Thank you, Sophie, for that. Last question. Have you been following the Afcon start, or is that a tournament that's too far away from you?
I've been a little bit too busy with the Euros, but I know I think was it Morocco came back
Morocco?
to
Yeah,
snatch a draw with Zambia.
exactly. Zambia very strong, and now today Algeria won.
Mm.
I just know because Karchouni scored the goal, and she's a new arrival for Servette in our league here in Switzerland. That's why I know about it. The Swiss league not looking too good. We only have four non-Swiss players in the tournament, and only one of them played. So I think our league is losing a little bit of ground.
I think it is. And it's very hard to keep up with other European leagues when they start putting a lot of money in. I think even you look at Sweden, that so long has been a great place for players to develop. It's now a feeder league, and it's hard if you don't have the money.
That's the way it goes. And now they all promise us a lot of money, but looking at what actually trickles down, not too sure. Let's hope this tournament changes it. Who is your money on now? If it's not the Lionesses.
My so I tried to sort of do a prediction of the whole tournament, and I had Spain beating Germany in the final. I think both teams have bad defenses. Um, I
Yes,
I like Germany. I think they've got a lot of talent, a lot of know-how. I thought it was a big shame to see Ludwig go off injured the other day. That could really affect them. But they've got a lot of talent up top, and I think that's what is going to be important in this tournament. It's going to be sort of Spain's talent, France's talent, Germany's talent, all those attackers compensating for their defenses.
they will criticize you at home for not sticking up to your Lionesses.
Oh, I never have. Oh, I never have.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm also always the bad guy here with the Swiss national team. I guess if you see those issues, you have to mention them. And our friends who only do this for the big tournaments, they don't know that 5 years ago we had the same issues, or 2 years ago, or in the last 3 months. They only know the games now. Reminds me of before when you said you hated it when Anna Maria played in the defense. When we met in Scotland, I remember sitting in that press room, and then the Scottish bloke who does the commentary is a kind of famous guy, Paddy something McFadden or something like that. I don't remember his name. He asked me, "Well, she gets a lot of goals as a defender. How is that?" And then I had to explain to him, "Well, she
Yeah.
used to be a striker and so on." Funny times.
Yeah, I think you always know when when someone doesn't know, but they've gone to Wikipedia and looked at things and or like the degree of someone's homework. Yeah,
That's what happens. Well, Sophie, thank you for staying up late for talking to us about the tournament now. Next time we see each other, if something crazy happens, it's before Switzerland are through or knocked out, or we'll see each other after that. Either way, you'll have a lot to watch.
I will indeed.
And I thank every one of you who's watching and listening to us, and hope you are enjoying the tournament as well. Thank you.